This is Rod Gills. This is Todd Bedard who's with me. Todd grew up in the PA area, first as a spectator, getting to know all these bands, and you're just like a fan of music.
Yes, sir. Been
And
going
then
to concerts since I've been 16 years old.
yeah. So that's been your thing. But you also fathered a musician.
Yep.
In the process of that, there's all kinds of learning lessons that go on. Uh,
Yeah.
in doing that,
Play a mean air guitar too.
concerning your son and elsewhere otherwise doesn't some things that are a lot of things that you learn that were side things with your son, but so we're going to talk about the extra rock band things. Okay, you start a rock band. What
Yeah.
are some of the things, especially like you're raising kids that are doing this? It's like, what is the natural progression of things? The natural progression of things, you start out because when did Logan Bedard, when did Logan he start in this again?
I mean, he started at 6, played his first gig at 8. So,
Yes.
and it was the gig at 8 was kind of an accident. We just happened to show up and drummer was unavailable. And Shay Quinn goes, "Hey, you know my songs, just follow me."
Mm-hmm. And
And
it
he
worked.
played the night and got 3 more gigs out of it. And I don't think we've stopped ever since. And
Okay.
well, I have stopped
Yeah.
because he drives himself now, but from that point on until he could drive himself, it was pretty much
Yeah. So from 8 years old, is like, was that at Ted's?
no, it was at the front street or
That's
Riverside Bar in Marysville. It wasn't called that. Somewhere if you drive up to Marysville and down toward the river, there's a
okay.
bar down there. It's changed owners a few times, but
Okay.
it's up there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that was the first. Well, Ted's open mic. He was the house drummer for open mic at Ted's. That was
I
probably the
remember
first thing.
he signed a drumhead.
Yeah.
This does Ted still exist?
It does. It's not in the location that we remember.
Yeah.
That building, they moved up to South Hanover Township, and I think the owners. I'm not sure if the owners still own it or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I mean, it's still there.
Yeah.
It's downtown close, but they still have the one out in South Hanover.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no
Okay.
more open mics though.
So you've seen it. You've seen it from the time he was 8 years old, and you were
Yeah,
raising a kid, raising your son to exist in this environment, to play with people, always playing with people that were better than him, but
yeah,
also along the same lines is we come into this like rock band. Like my my involvement was he was playing with kids his own age as well, or at
yeah.
the same time.
I mean, I always said his early career really came as like his life was a whole series of happy accidents, and one could say lucky, but I think it's just a matter of like being prepared in the moment that the opportunity arose.
Hmm.
So, like for example, we met you by going to P5. We were at P5 before you
Hmm.
because he played a gig with Shay, and the lady that ran P5 at the time knew Shay and knew he had a kid drummer.
Hmm.
And the drummer that was supposed to be in the original rock band class over there dropped out for whatever reason. I don't even know the story. And they called Shay and said, "Hey, can that kid come? We just need a drummer, but he needs to be here tomorrow." And we're like, And they're like, "Yep." And we showed up, and that kind of was the beginning of it with our old buddy Derek Houston from the Green Room.
Yeah, yeah.
Somewhere there's videos of us playing Alice in Chains and Breaking Benjamin covers,
Okay.
and
How long did that last?
I'm actually singing this because there's a whole mess of kids dropping out. But
Yeah, yeah.
so it's a matter of like, if I'd have been like, well, I need to hear everything and I need to meet everybody and I need to investigate everything, it was sort of like, all right, well, let's just show up and see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
it's music. How
Not
bad could
everything
it
can
be?
always, you keep them, make sure it's safe. Everything is safe, obviously.
Well, I mean, I don't think kidnappers pose as music school people and invite kids
Yeah,
over. So, I mean,
yeah,
I showed up. If there'd have been kidnappers there, they'd have to take me too. But,
yeah, yeah.
it's just one of those things. Like I was with him, but I wasn't, you know, I was just as
So how long
involved.
was the Derek Houston thing?
I
Learning
think
with
that
him.
was a year. I don't know. How long I don't know, maybe a year or two. Well, not too long. I think it was one or two seasons. You do
Okay,
like a 6 week session,
okay. One or
but
two.
Derek and I are became lifelong friends,
Yeah, yeah.
after out of that, because we
Mhm.
shared a lot of the same musical tastes. I'm
Yeah.
a talker, so I love to talk
So,
about music.
really?
And yeah, and we talked about a lot of the music we liked. And I mean, I knew from like being around the Badleys in the 90s and whatnot, that the Badleys recorded a green room, and he ran green room. So of course we're telling stories about the green
Yeah.
room and the Badleys recording river songs there. And
Mhm.
that's how we became friends. And then, my kid was playing Alice in Chains covers with Derek on bass and
Was it,
me.
2012 is when I became involved.
Okay.
So that
So
was
that might have been 2010 was probably right around there.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
yeah, this,
it was not happening. I don't know. There was must have been a cut, and
yeah, there was a break there for a little bit,
yeah,
but
that I didn't know anything about.
but it's what I would say about it is it's like if my kid played soccer, and I coached, that's kind of what happened. I
Yeah.
showed up at P5. I sat there as a parent just to watch and and see, and then they needed the kid that sang didn't show up one week, and then they were like, well,
You're
we want
doing
to
your
play
best,
rock
Lane
tunes.
Staley.
Yeah, and I just, was I good at it? No, but I mean, I was just up there doing it because I like that music, and kids needed a singer, so it was kind of fun. And much like you'd get involved with your kid's soccer program, and I'd bring the oranges that week for halftime. Well, I mean, instead I sang Lane Staley songs,
Okay.
and I mean, it's
Yeah.
that's really the analogy I can give you. It's like,
Being a good dad.
yeah, it's opportunity. I always say, like,
Open to
I'm,
the experience.
I'm not the author of that story. I'm the editor and producer.
Yeah.
And so my job is to help him provide and help him find opportunities and create something for himself. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
And have a playground to play on.
yeah, and that's really what it's about. And it wasn't for me. It was just about him having fun. I didn't need. Well, somebody told me early on. They said, like be careful. And I was never like this because, like, to me, fame has always been a byproduct of being good at what you do. It's not something to chase.
Hmm.
If you're chasing fame, you're chasing the wrong thing. Get good at what you do, and fame will happen if it's gonna. And,
Yeah.
and then, honestly, in most situations, fame's a little bit of a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they said, like don't chase fame because, like, nobody wants their heroes to grow up. So if he gets quote unquote famous at a young age,
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody's going to care about him when he's 20.
Yeah.
So
Being good as a kid
yeah.
ages out. Yes.
And the thing about it that we realized is, was he better than the average 8-year-old? Sure, but was he better than most of the
But
professional
honestly, what it
professional
probably was, it
musicians?
was just
No.
fun.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't think he's 100%. He wouldn't be 100% into anything if it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Kid.
Yeah. And that's what it's been about for both of my kids. My other one
Yeah.
plays sports, and
Yeah.
and I hang out with parents who are like, well, you're going to get a scholarship. I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I mean, if he learns to be a man and learns to sacrifice for others and has a good time playing this sport, that's it. The rest of it will happen if it's gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, the world has a way of punching you in the face, and it also has a way of opening some doors that you never thought would open.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, who knows how it'll end up, but you're prepared when the opportunity's there.
So early on, you were the dad roadie because he was a small little kid.
Yeah, he's not strong enough to carry his own stuff, so I had to carry
Yeah,
it.
he could play, but he could set it up, but he couldn't carry it.
Right.
So
But believe me, I was like, yeah, you're going to learn to do this, because this is like, if you like drumming, then you're going to like doing all the drumming, not just the sit behind the kit and play. Like,
so the what like okay, so to a 13-year-old, what do you tell him? This is what paying your dues means.
um, taking every gig that you can, playing every opportunity, even the quote unquote crappy ones. So he played gigs where, like, he'd set up outside of a bathroom in a private club, and in a smoky private club that, and it wasn't the greatest environment, but
Yeah.
he played an hour, he got a gig under his belt. He played at picnics in the park to 3 people,
Hmm.
go to every open mic under the sun.
Yeah.
Somebody wants a drummer, you go, yep, learn that music because you want to be versatile, have your favorite music, but learn to play everything because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
never know where the gig was, you know. Like the amusing part about it is one of the reasons that I know you is he was 7 and he's down there, he's working with his teacher, Jeremy Hummel, on funk grooves in this textbook, and he's practicing the funk groove and he comes upstairs, he goes, Dad, I think I want to be in a funk band. And I'm thinking, well, you're a white kid from central Pennsylvania. Like the odds that you find a funk band to play in, you know, I mean, I've been going to bands around here forever, but I didn't see that many funk bands. And sure enough, not too long later, we met you, and he got to play a couple of, you know, jump up for a couple of tunes in Groove Jones, and
hmm
now it's like one of his specialties is playing funk, and
yeah.
that
So that was like the first one was at the York Central Market.
yeah,
Played the whole thing.
yeah,
And we weren't.
yeah. Was that before the Cove? I think he played one at the
Yeah.
Cove too.
No,
Yeah,
no, he played a bunch at the Cove. He was
yeah,
the last drummer for Groove Jones.
yeah.
When it all ended, he was the drummer.
He was the drummer. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. So it's just like you never. The point of that story is like you never know because at the time he liked Led Zeppelin and Foo Fighters and those kind of bands, and you know he wasn't walking around listening to funk music, but open to play it because you
yeah,
never
it
know. You
was
know,
the same
that's a
with jazz.
yeah,
I don't think he has weather report on his earbuds.
yeah. You
Yeah,
know, it's
maybe now, but I don't know. It's hard to
I
say.
mean, to be honest with you, he wasn't that difficult in terms of like being open-minded pretty early. Like we talked early on, like, hey, listen to everything, like take in everything. That's dues paying too,
Yeah,
you know. Like, you know, like even we even looked at like some metalcore stuff.
yeah,
Neither one of us listen to metalcore. I
yeah,
mean, I can appreciate it, but I
yeah,
don't listen to it. But it's a skill set
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's interesting.
But I think honestly, metalcore drummers, that is a very specified skill.
Yeah.
That
I'd call them the UFC
those guys
fighters of
might
music.
only know how to do metalcore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because that
Yeah.
like very
Yeah. You know,
specified. So
yeah.
learning, working on earning your dues. So he's growing up. He's getting to be able to play. His name is getting out there. Getting to be able to play with people, both
Hmm.
people his age, because he had it. He had a thing where he's playing with kids his own age.
Hmm.
Okay, with the Rhythm on Main guys and
Yeah.
Scarlet Revolver did some stuff and he learned to do stuff in that and coming up with his own drum parts
Yeah.
and in both bands and then at a certain point you age up to the point where okay, so now what are you going to stop doing?
Well, so he's like 14, I guess, and I'm doing his calendar for him, you know, because he is ADHD, so he's very disorganized. And you know, I don't think there's many 14-year-olds, even the ones that aren't ADHD. But if you add that in, it's worse.
Yeah,
So I kept his calendar for him, but I was like, dude, you're gonna sit here with me while I do this because at some point you're gonna be on your own. And you know, my job as your dad is to raise you to be an adult, not go with you
and
through
not
adulthood. And
be,
so I said,
be a
16
contributing
years
adult,
old.
not a jerk.
Yeah. And I said, so when you're 16, you're going to be doing most of the calendar and I'll be monitoring it. And when you're 17, I'm going to take myself off the shared calendar and it's going to be all yours and I'll be your advisor. And,
Yeah,
you know, and you might stumble, but you gotta. I mean,
yeah.
you know,
You learn
you
how
and
to
I
do it.
sitting here at our advanced age have stumbled a few times in our lives and we survived. And
Yes.
that's part of growing up. And I think, you
Yeah.
know, I think we live in a world now where, you know, there was helicopter parents and now we call them snowplow parents that want to get out in front of it all. And you know,
Yeah.
it's the failure piece is important. So that's to me that
Yes.
was important.
It's essential.
Yeah, like
But
when it was carry we talked about carrying his stuff. Like when he wasn't strong enough, like it got to be like, all right, well, I'll carry the bass drum because that's the heaviest thing that I know you can't really lift, but you carry the rest and you set up your own stuff because I don't know how to play drums. Like, you know what angle you want it at,
yeah, yeah,
you know, so you do that, you know, and I'll help you lift, you know, I'm not, wasn't a jerk, but at the
yeah, yeah,
same time, I'm like, you gotta, that's the dues paying too.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you love this, you're gonna have to set your own stuff up because
yeah,
you know, famous drummers pay techs, but that's not free.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yep.
the other thing I would say about dues paying too, just to continue with that is like, don't worry about money. play for free for a while
Hmm.
just to get out there and get known and
Yeah.
say, like, hey, I'll do that, or I'll do it for, I'll do it for $20, because you don't have any bills. So we had the luxury of that because he didn't have bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, even as a young artist, I mean, no young artist hopefully is paying their bills, playing acoustic music in Harrisburg. So don't be afraid of the free gig once in a while until you get a following.
Yeah. Yes. And even then some,
Yeah,
there are the yearly gigs that we do because it's the
sure,
right thing to do.
sure.
That
Yeah, absolutely. I
stand.
always say that I have a philosophy on getting paid. It's either free or it's full price. Because when you give a discount, so let's say your fee's $100, and somebody goes, "Hey, well, we're an up and coming, we're a nonprofit. Would you do it for $60?" Well, if you say yes, and then next year they have $100 to pay you, they're not going to call you because you're the $60 guy.
Yeah.
So I always say free or full price.
Yeah.
Free is because you love it or you love the people, and full price
And
is
you love,
because,
or yeah, in other words, certain things are for charity.
yeah. For example, I'm very thankful that every year that you consider the charity of
Mhm.
our Thon Factor worthy to show
Yes.
up and
Absolutely.
donate your time to play with those kids because
Yes.
it's super fun and awesome.
Yes. All right. So these are all skills that we would call extra musical. Like,
Yeah,
okay, you're learning your skills on the drums. He's learning to communicate with other people, learning to communicate with adults, learning to grow up in the world and not when he turns 18 years old. If everything is going to be dictated by the guardian, because
yeah,
you got to let go. You got to let go
yeah,
at some point. Um, so So what kinds of things are you thinking, like these extra musical skills? What else? What else? What else are we thinking? Uh, like obviously there's instrumental proficiency. We already talked about that. Some of the
yeah,
things that when in being in a band, no matter what the age is, the amount of the the teamwork muscle
yeah.
where
That's hard. I mean,
and it's hard. In other words, a lot of people don't have that because we're in a generation that a lot of people think of themselves as solo acts, and their
true.
band is a backing track, or their band is a karaoke track, or their band is just the I'm the star, and it's like that was the earliest rock and rollers were that way too. But it's kind of some of the stuff, some of the like TikTok people and that kind of generation. That's
Yeah.
kind of that's kind of what it is. But it's like the idea of teamwork.
Well, I'll take it a step further, even like so all of that's true what you said. Where there's people that just I always call them, I guess they're just chasing fame. You can be good at what you do and still chase fame, but I would say like when you get in a band situation, you're going in there with people that you're going to be with every day, and you're bringing your art that you created from scratch, from your heart and from your mind, and you're bringing it to other people, and they're going to be critical of it.
Hmm.
And that, in a sense, I mean, in a sense, is like somebody that's going to be critical of your child.
Yeah,
Is it important that somebody is critical of my children sometimes, and for me to hear that as a parent? Absolutely, it's important.
yeah,
Is it hard to hear? Yeah, it's
absolutely.
hard to hear because deep down in, even if I don't verbalize it, act out, or even come at them with it, deep down in, that's a judgment on me as
Yeah,
a dad.
yeah,
So when you're in a band situation and somebody brings a song to you that you created from your heart and your mind, and they go, I don't really like that part there, or we need a harmony like after the bridge, and you're like, no, I don't hear a harmony, I'm going to sing it by myself.
yeah,
That's hard to hear
yeah,
because you're criticizing their children in a way.
yeah, yeah,
So you really have to come into that, and that's a skill set. That's not something you're just like, okay, well, just get over it. Not that easy. It's a skill set. You
yeah,
have to go like, okay, I can take. It's almost like, okay, I'm going to bring this song to you, and everybody can say one thing because that's all I can do today.
yeah.
And then tomorrow, when you take the song and listen to it tomorrow, then maybe bring another thing. And if you can do that and deconstruct the songs and
Well,
dig into, I mean,
not
I don't know how to
everybody
write
can
a song.
deconstruct. That's the thing. Not everybody can deconstruct the
No,
song like that, and that's a
no,
skill. Those are skills to learn.
right. But I've talked to artists who are very, very good songwriters in this area that don't want to hear anything from anybody about their songs,
Yeah.
and and their songs are good, but imagine if they co-wrote with somebody.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what beautiful music that would be. I mean, look at some of the best artists ever, like I mean, one of the most famous songs ever is Living on a Prayer. Bon Jovi did, and Richie didn't weren't the only ones that wrote that. It was Desmond Child on that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had they not written it with Desmond Child, would it be what you know? I don't
Uh,
know. Even if you don't
were
like
it
the
not for
tune.
Desmond Child, they would have been an afterthought.
Yeah. So I mean
Desmond Child was also, yeah, he was, for those who don't know who Desmond Child is, he wrote with Kiss, he wrote with Aerosmith, he wrote with Bon Jovi. A lot of the bands that have mega
mhm.
hits that propelled them off into icons of a period of music were,
Yeah.
and
And if you're
Desmond
not,
Child was a collaborator.
yeah.
What he did best and what he loved to do most
Hmm.
was not to write the whole song,
Hmm.
to work with the artist and collaborate. Go
And
back.
he's an interesting guy to listen to. So like even some of these for those of you that are raising children to write songs, like listen to a couple interviews with him and how he had to kind of massage his way through with these artists. Like Bon Jovi didn't just come in and be like, okay, Des, here's go ahead, fix me.
Yeah,
There was resistance because it's
yeah,
again, you're criticizing their children
yeah, yeah.
in many respects.
He was responsible. Desmond Child was responsible for "I Was Made for Loving You."
Yeah, I mean, every
Like,
every artist
Gene
every
Simmons
artist
was
has
like,
songs that
"I
are
hate this
universally
song."
panned, right?
I was like, "I hate this song." I don't hate it
Yeah,
myself.
yeah,
You hear him
yeah.
now; it doesn't sound like disco.
I would think he's a hook machine because every song he has a good hook to it.
Yeah,
So
Ricky Martin is another one he wrote. He was a Kiss, Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, Cher, Ricky
yeah,
Martin.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He-
So it's I mean, but
So
it's really being open. The band situation is about being open minded to even if you don't know how to deconstruct a song, it's being open minded to and giving feedback and being open to hearing feedback because it's like and when you're young you might be like, well, that was good or that was bad, but I would challenge and say, well, be specific. What made you say it was good?
yeah,
What about it? What made you say you didn't like it? What about it?
yeah,
And that maybe you don't know how to deconstruct it, but if you give that feedback of what was good and what you thought was bad, the actual person that made the song can go back and do some rewrites and
yeah, yeah.
you know
Yep.
I don't know.
And
That's
that's the way you
but
do a lot of stuff that we were talking before. It's
yeah,
like you learn the importance of, I want to say failing because it's not of the creative act. If you're writing poetry, if you're writing a novel, if you're the rewrites
yeah,
is a thing that it is
oh
in
yeah,
every it is in every, like, especially the literary realm.
yeah,
It is
yeah,
a thing that everybody is that 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 it's not that you stink. It's This is part of the gig.
right,
You want to get the best thing out there, that you don't want to, in like 20
right,
years, have to sing that stupid lyric that you should have changed 20 years ago.
sure. And that's hard, and it's probably harder even for kids because kids maybe don't have the skill set to receive feedback the way an adult might. I
Yeah.
mean, like I told you, if you're going to criticize my child, he may deserve it, and I'm fine with that. I think that's an important part of the growth, but it doesn't mean I'm not sitting over here like being hard on myself
Hmm.
for the type of parent that I am,
Yeah, yeah,
or the situational decision that I made that maybe caused him to, do whatever. It's
yeah.
those are, but you have to dig into that,
Well,
do
the
some
other
work on
thing here,
yourself.
the other thing here is that what we're talking about is in some cases, like if you're going to work with another writer or a producer,
Yeah.
you got to be coachable.
Yeah. And that was another thing that I told, because I told him early on, I was like, look, nobody's ever bought a ticket to see a drummer by themselves.
Yeah.
Like, so you're always going to be up there with somebody.
And you don't,
So
even if that was a thing where,
yeah,
yeah, like,
your job is to make the band be the best version of itself,
yes.
and, do you have a say? I hope so, but at the same time, your job is to go, I need this to make them sound good,
Hmm.
know where the one is,
Yes.
be open to what they want from you. And I've I mean, humble brag, like a couple people have said to me, like one of their favorite qualities that my son has is the ability to do what's asked of him in, in studio situations and band situations and be easygoing about it,
Yes.
and so
That was
as
that
a
was a
dad,
hard
that,
one. That was a hard one skill.
yeah, and I mean, and to be honest with you, as a dad, that's, to me, that makes me more proud than
Yeah.
his abilities.
Yes. Which
His
is easy to
abilities can
convey.
come and
Like,
go, and he could let them go, and
yeah.
you don't exercise the muscle and you lose those, but you know
All right.
that
Like
ability to work with people will never go away,
yeah,
hopefully.
yeah. Starting a rock band and learning how to communicate.
Yeah,
Like this whole thing, like your kids growing up.
yeah,
Communication is another one of those extra musical qualities
yeah.
that we
Well,
need.
as a fan, to me, that's the beauty of watching music, is when you guys are up there on stage and nobody's speaking, but you're all talking.
Yeah.
There's the looks, there's the subtle movement of the headstock, there's you know, the drummer will raise a stick or something, something that signals the band to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
just beautiful. And it's my favorite part of watching music, is watching those guys do that.
So, all right. So, what other things are we thinking about? Like, okay, so as he grows up and he wants to grow in other directions, some of the other, and this is all hypothetical, it's not staying with Logan, saying he would want to grow. Like everybody has the possibility of growth. It's like you're a great drummer, but can you write a song?
Mm-hmm.
Does that matter to you? You can have the choice to say, no, that doesn't matter to me. And it might
Well,
not. Go ahead.
I think the thing with that is you have to realize it's their journey,
Yes.
and I think that's a really, really hard thing to do as a parent. Like, I mean, I've had many conversations with myself
Hmm.
about, and even his mom over the course of his life, like about stepping back sometimes, because like we as adults have lived a long, you know, I've lived 30 years longer than him.
Yeah.
I'm 30 years ahead of him. So with that, like I know things that he doesn't know yet because he hasn't experienced them, but he needs to,
Hmm.
So it's a matter of like, and all children need to. So it's a matter of like that end game of, no, you need to do this, and this, because then you'll be this. And it's like, yeah, that's 5 years from now. You
Yeah.
need
And
to
the
be
other the
this.
other part of this is these are all great things, but in their time, it's not like there's one path
Yeah.
that has that you're going to be a failure unless you do this one path. That's not
Well,
the
yeah. Like mine didn't learn music theory until he was almost 18.
yeah.
Like he didn't even want to learn. Like I would encourage him. I'd sit every now and then I'd subtly throw it in, like, hey, why don't you talk to so and so and learn some music theory? Oh, well, why don't you talk to so and so and learn music theory? Well, so and so wants a drum lesson. Why don't you trade music theory lessons, and then like you barter? And
Yeah.
no, no, no. Now he's 18. He's like, oh my god, it's great. I'm doing this and looking at this. And,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not as versed as like you are, who have the educational background, but
But no,
he could speak
it's a
your
lifelong
language. He could speak your language now.
it's a
You know,
lifelong pursuit. And there's some
yeah.
things he doesn't need to know.
But there's also
But
music teachers that would have never taken him when he was 6 without opening a book and making him learn the theory first.
right, right.
So, and are they wrong? No. Is the way we did it wrong? No. That's what you said. Everybody's path is different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I have
and I
my
don't
own
think
beliefs
there's
on some of that stuff though. I
yeah.
think you should feel it first. You should feel some stuff. You should get your fingers dirty before reading. But that's my own educational approach.
Well, I also think everything in life is science and art.
Yeah.
You're in an art field, but there's a science to it.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
The notes and chords are the science.
Hmm.
Playing a song note perfect is a science,
Hmm.
and the art is, okay, play that song, and then I want you to improv in the key of G flat major sharp. How'd I sound? I'm just totally joking, but I want you to improv in G minor. Is that a good
That's
improv
better.
All right, better
E minor,
chord or
major, sharp.
improv in G minor for 16 bars and then go back to the song.
Yeah.
That's the art. So it's kind of an important piece.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
as the
music theory can be brought up into that the whole time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
but
it's just
yep.
but understanding it's their pathway and that we as adults may know an end game because we've lived a whole lot longer.
Hmm.
And you're looking at your 14-year-old or your 12-year-old or and going, they just don't have it yet. It's like, of course they don't. They're 12, or they're 14. And like maybe he would have just wanted to play drums and play 4/4 rock, and that's all he ever wanted to do. And he never wanted to learn multiple times and try to be a professional.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Learn to work with people then.
yeah, yeah,
And learn to communicate. So when you go get a job, you know how to talk to people.
yeah, yeah.
And if your experience in a band gave you that, then that's a skill too.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So, how does a person like the critical thinking aspect of this, without even thinking about critical thinking, it was absolutely used all the way through. He could like couldn't spell critical thinking when uh, this whole journey started. But
Yeah.
it's absolutely it's flexing the critical thinking muscle. And
Well, and medical schools, like they look for musical backgrounds.
yes,
They look for you to have like so just because you dedicate your youth to music and writing songs and creating doesn't mean you have to go try to make a living at it. It's a very tough business
yeah,
that will chew you up and spit you out. And even if you do quote unquote make it, the odds that you make it and never work again, become a Taylor Swift, that's like, I mean, you could get struck by lightning or win the Powerball. It's
yeah,
about the same odds.
yeah, yeah, yep.
It's most people are going to toil in that middle of the road, make enough to pay my bills this month
Mm-hmm.
place with music. It's
Yeah,
just the reality of the business.
yeah, yeah. So, and in business, I think I guess you diversify. I guess that's the
Yeah.
everybody we know, and it should be known that your whole existence is not based on raising a drummer, but
No.
you've been around a lot of this stuff,
Yeah.
and you're a supporter. You're a supporter of the whole music scene within a 100-mile
Oh,
radius of
without a doubt. I mean,
yeah.
for
So,
me, music was a fun little hobby to for me to just escape
mhm,
life and go. I mean, the feeling that I get when I leave a live show, you know, I'm I'm happy for 2 or 3 days after a live show. We just
yeah,
saw the Badleys at the Inglewood
dopamine
Folk.
high.
Yeah, and I'm still happy and euphoric and singing Badley songs in my head
Mhm.
because of the weekend I spent with them because they're so fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, does everybody think that about a band? No, but for me, that's what it does, and you know,
So
keeps
you're
me.
okay. So let's go to Thon. So you're always talking, and I always appreciate all the insight a gym teacher offers a singer in the
Who'd have,
areas
who'd
of
have thunk it?
in the area of performance and the
Yeah,
skill that is
yeah,
not. They go on stage. It's what Phil Freeman calls alpha energy.
yeah,
Okay, or alpha stance. So like you don't want to
yeah.
go on with your hands in your pocket, looking
Right,
like Eeyore, looking at your shoes and gazing
right.
at them. And
Yeah, no doubt.
you know
I
what I mean?
mean,
It's like the alpha energy. So the idea in um, just building confidence in the whole aspect of this, it's a confidence builder
well, for me, my
if it's
approach with
approached the
Thon
right
is,
way.
yeah, my approach with the kids that sing in Thon is like, again, I go back to it's their journey. So my goal is to get them from their point A to their point B, whatever that is, not my point B.
Hmm.
I mean, I got to see like Metallica and Klaus Meine from the Scorpions and Axl Rose, and I've seen some of the greatest musicians to ever jump around on rock stages from the 80s.
Hmm.
So like I just bring that to like, what entertained me about them,
Yes.
you
The
know, they
difference
I
between
saw
the
Van
difference
Halen, they
between a
didn't stand
musician.
there.
Go ahead.
I saw Van Halen and they didn't just stand there.
Yeah.
They jumped around and they ran up and down that was part
So
of it too.
yeah. So what causes a person to buy a $400 concert ticket? somebody who's staring at his shoes.
No, exactly. I mean, there's note perfect and then there's entertainment. And when you're on stage and like well, for me, first of all, Thon Factor is very much not a, and this is no offense to the music programs in schools because they're important, but it's not a music program type of show. It's
Yeah,
it's for the hip hop kid, it's for the rocker, it's for the
be yourself.
Americana.
Come, in the words of Kurt Cobain, "Come as you are," but be the
Yeah,
best version of yourself.
and step outside of note perfect. You know, I tell the kids, I'm like, you got to be 70% note perfect and 30% entertaining,
Yeah.
you know, and and if you make a mistake, make it twice, like Eddie Van Halen would say, or
Yeah,
just
yeah. Oh, that goes back to yeah.
yeah,
Eddie
just
got that from BB.
yeah.
Eddie got that back from BB King. So
Oh, is that a BB
yeah,
King? Well, I learned it from him. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
So BB also says, depending on when you catch him, you play a fret higher and it's in. If you
yeah.
play a bad
But
note, go one fret higher.
right. And for me, it's about like what are you emoting when you're up there? Like I want to feel if you're singing a song about sadness and pain, I want to feel the pain too. If you're singing a song that's supposed to make everyone happy, I want to feel happy when you're done. I want to be entertained. If it's you're singing a party song, I want you running around up there like you're partying.
Mhm.
Like it's that's the vibe, and that's what I try to teach. And and almost all of the kids get to some form of point B and grow. And
Yeah.
I don't think in 12, I mean, they've never said it to me and it's never gotten back to me, but all those kids walk off stage and they feel like $1 million. And it's
Yeah.
really just about building them up and saying,
I can't believe they haven't said, yeah, they've said stuff to you.
no, I mean, like they've never said anything negative.
No,
That's what I'm
no,
saying.
always positive.
Yeah, it's always like they always,
Bring out the
like
best. Bring out the best of what you are. It's like don't settle for.
I had one kid in 12 years that I thought really was going to go out on stage and her stage fright was going to get so bad that she might stop in the middle and run off stage. And I actually warned a few people that that might happen. So I had a few people like ready just in case to make sure she didn't run off somewhere
Yeah.
and you know, something drastic happened. And I mean, she walked off stage and she was negative all week and I'm going to suck. And I'm going to like, you can't say that. You got to say, you got to talk positively and, you know, tell yourself you're the best thing here and whatever, all of those things. So she goes out and she's like, I don't know, it's good. Goes out and does it. And she came right up to me afterwards. She's like, that was the most awesome experience of my life, and I want to do it again. You
She
know,
wants to do it again.
wanted to do it again. She was
Okay,
a
good.
senior. She was a senior and couldn't, but that
Yeah,
was what she said. And I'm just
yeah,
like, like for me, that was the reward because
yeah. Was
we
I a
helped
part of
her.
that?
You were there. Yeah, you never missed one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh?
So it was just one of those things like she just that's the reward and that's what you got as a parent you and as an adult who supports young people doing it. It's their journey, but you got to push them to be the best version of themselves, but understand that's they're going to get to their point
Yes.
and they're and come performance day it's going to be good enough.
Yes.
They're going to put all the work they can into it. They're going to go out there and they're going to play it and it's going to be good enough. And
Yes.
pick them up if they're not happy,
Hmm.
celebrate with them if they are, and
But
praise.
all along, understand that understand that the failures mean something too.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And this is in
I,
life. This is not just on the concert stage.
yeah. I mean, I was very careful with my criticism of my kids. I mean, again, I'm not trying to tell anybody I'm a parent, but like, I also we his mom would always say she would tell people she's like, there's no shortage of people standing in line after he gets off stage to blow smoke up his rear end.
Yeah.
It's our job to keep him grounded.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's pretty profound. I mean, I don't know if she came
That's a
up with that.
different conversation. So what
Yeah,
happens when you float their ego?
yeah, yeah.
There's all
No.
kinds of yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the joke we used to say was he's a fantastic drummer, but his room's a mess. So I just hope he cleans his room,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So it's just, those are the things you got to keep them grounded and understand that, you're only going to get somewhere if you're easy to work with. The music industry is way too competitive nowadays,
Yeah.
and they'll just move on to the next thing. If
Yeah.
you're difficult, or I, as his dad, was difficult, like when he comes rolling in, they like him, but they see me coming and they're like, oh God. Like eventually that would hurt his career,
Hmm. Yeah.
So So that was for me what it was about. And I think, if I could give any advice to any parent, is like try to teach them to be easy to work with.
Absolutely.
It's okay to have boundaries and things like that, but and
Well,
it's
the other
okay to
thing
be.
is, and here's another thing that, like, and I don't know that some young people don't even consider. They said these are the songs I want to sing, but sometimes it's nice to play with people where we come together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay. Or maybe even your job is to make somebody else sound good.
yeah.
And then your time does come around.
Mm-hmm.
Your time
Yeah.
will come around. But it's like one of the best advice I like people who have stage fright or whatever that I've heard was go to these open mics.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to the open mics, you're learning, you're working your craft,
Mm-hmm.
building up, you're building up your confidence, your what works in it for an audience, what doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, and at an open mic, you can't get away with playing with karaoke tracks.
No, not
So
a good one.
yeah, um, so th- these are some of the ideas that uh, how do we how do we push forward, like put our time in an effective way that there is a college to this. Like when I say this,
Mm-hmm.
there is a pecking order to not we're not cutting, you can't cut corners and expect to just record something in your bedroom and maybe you can be a rock star that way, maybe you can, but at some point somebody's going to want to see you live.
Well, what I'd even say too is, like, if you write songs and you go to open mic and you take your acoustic guitar and you play your 3 songs or your 15 minutes, jump up with somebody else and play acoustic guitar
Yes,
and
that's
figure out what key
that's
they're
even
in and follow along.
exactly.
And if you suck, it's okay. Keep sucking because you're going to get better.
Yes, playing with other people where they are the focus, and
Yeah.
that gives you different muscles to flex.
Right.
If you can't do it, shed your instrument.
But keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that, there's an old saying, it's about writing, but you could talk about it in music too. Like, somebody would say, well, I can't write any, they talked about writer's block. Like, I can't write anything because I can't write anything good. And so the speaker goes, well, show me all your bad writing. And they didn't have any because they just froze up because they were chasing perfection.
Yes.
It's about showing up. It's about
Yes.
show up and write something.
Yeah. And even
Nobody,
fail. It's all right to fail. In other words, like, and especially in the open mic thing,
yeah,
you're learning to do it. You're learning to do it. Nobody expects you to be perfect.
yeah,
But
yeah.
in all things probably, because it's like you want to be the best you can be, but it's not chamber music.
Well, and here's a little technique that we use. I use this with my students at school, and pretty much everything that I do, even in class, like I have kids speak in front of my class and they get nervous, as well as the kids in Thon Factor who are like, I'm not sure. I don't know about being on stage. I don't know about that rock star thing, whatever. So I do something called a pre-mortem. I don't know. Have you ever heard of a pre-mortem?
Nope.
So a post-mortem is where they go in, they find out the cause of death.
Yeah.
Well, pre-mortem is we're gonna paint this. So I have anxiety about going on stage. I have anxiety about showing up at an open mic and playing my music because it's not good, or it's not, somebody's gonna laugh or whatever. So pre-mortem is, all right, let's start with the worst thing that can happen. So let's paint this picture. What's the worst thing that can happen? So I was like, well, I could die. Yep, that's right. That's probably the worst thing that can happen. What are the odds it happens? Pretty slim. And I said, if you do, you'll die on stage. You'll be legendary. So either way, you win. And that's just a joke, but still, I always try to throw a little humor in it. But so death isn't going to happen. So what's the next worst thing? I could get sick. Probably not going to get sick, but you might. And if you throw up again, you'll be legendary. You'll probably be TikTok famous. You'll be the kid that threw up before they played open mic, and then you go play your song and slay it. Like, so you just kind of go from there. And it's like, well, what else? Somebody could laugh. All right, somebody could laugh. Does your family still care about you? Yeah, your family still cares about you. So someone laughed that you don't know. Who cares? But your
Yeah.
family still loves you.
Is it that
And
important? Is it
right.
that important?
And you can break this down in as many steps as you want to, but and they have to come up with it. Like, I mean, I could give them the death and the sickness thing, but because those are extremes that are never going to happen. And so from there, like, you start asking the kid, well, what do you think's going to happen? Like, paint this picture. Like, I won't do this because X is going to happen. And when you start thinking about it, and you can eventually get to, well, that's kind of ludicrous, isn't it? Because your parents are still going to love you. Your family's still going to care about you. Your friends will still invite you to hang out with them on Fridays. And if they don't, they're probably not good friends. So there's nothing that's going to change.
There's only good that's going to happen from it.
And you're going to walk off stage and you're going to feel better. And if you don't, keep doing it till you do. And if you do it for a month and you still don't feel good, then maybe it's not for you. And that's okay too. So,
Yeah.
but it's a technique called pre-mortem, and I do it all the time with kids. And it doesn't work. It's not
Break this
foolproof.
down, people.
Yeah, but it's an important. I mean, I don't have the market. I didn't make that up. That's a Brene Brownism.
Okay.
She wrote a book called Daring Greatly, which I highly recommend to all people. But it's an important skill to master.
What's the
Because it
worst
really
thing?
helps.
I do teach that. What's the worst
Yeah,
possible things that can happen?
yeah. But you really like
And if
so
the
the word
worst possible thing other than death, because let's take death out off the
take death out of it, but even still, like break it down, keep building it until you get on stage.
Yeah.
Oh, the worst part, I could get sick. Okay, you probably won't. What's the next thing? I could hit a bad note, and if you do, then what? Well, people might laugh, and then if you do, if they laugh, you're
Yeah.
playing. All right. And pretty soon you're on stage and they're playing the song and they're talking through the song, and when they can visualize it, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you're creating that vision through that conversation of a pre-mortem. It's not just, well, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Well, I'll suck. You won't suck. Get up there. That's not a pre-mortem. You have to dig into the details and kind of go step by step so that they can create the vision of themselves on stage, and eventually they'll create it where there's no mistakes.
Yes. So, lastly, we talk about like in our world, the rock band world, when you're playing together, the idea of it takes a lot of energy and a lot of perseverance to make this all.
Yeah.
In other words, it's not necessarily a quick thing, but ultimately, and I think I've said this before, rock playing with people is the coolest thing. Learning as you're going, learning and doing as you learning on stage essentially, and playing with other people, and they're building their skills up, their confidence up. You're doing that. That is the coolest thing. That's what I would promote. The perseverance of it takes time, it takes effort. It's not instant. These are all good things to like. If you want anything great, the definition of great is not everybody does it. Not everybody's able to do it.
Well, and that's the hard part of current society is, and I mean adults too. So I'm not jamming this into kids at all. Yes, kids are this
these are
way,
people skills. These are
but
not just.
I ordered something from Amazon yesterday and it showed up today, and I got it instantly. Like that's the world we live in now. When you and I grew up, you remember you watch these infomercials. You're like, "Mom, can I get that?" Yep, allow 4 to 6 weeks delivery while you after they receive your check that you mailed, and it took 4 to 6 weeks to get there. Right. So it's a matter of that. You have to let go. And I don't even know I don't even know what
generations before us were worse.
I don't know if we were worse because we had to be
patient. I'm saying we had it harder than kids nowadays.
Yeah, they don't have
generations earlier, like Buddy Guy left the South because he didn't know how Muddy Waters was squeezing the strings on the guitar, what we now call bending. So what does this guy do? He leaves the Delta, the Mississippi Delta, to Chicago to figure out how the guy bends notes. We can figure that out on YouTube.
Right. It's that instantaneous. So I don't even know, like when your life is instantaneous, how do you like that's the hard part of parenting, I guess. And I guess I'm thankful I don't have to worry about that now. But like the hard part of parenting is going, hey, you can have everything else you want instantly and you can binge watch a season of a show, but you ain't going to get good at your instrument tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now I guess the same thing with like people like I'm going to the gym and I'm trying to get my body like lose a little bit of weight. Like
perseverance.
I'm gonna show up at the gym today, but I'm not gonna look any different when I get back.
Yeah.
I got to go tomorrow. So it's I guess the advice is show up. Practice practice showing up.
These are life lessons.
Yeah. Practice showing up. And if you show up, eventually you're gonna get there.
Yeah. And the other thing is having that thing that you can show up to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I guess it's the difference, like you were talking about the difference. If you just want to be famous, maybe there's another route. But
Well, it's an infinite in applying game theory. This is an infinite game. Like there's no end to this game until you decide you don't want to play.
Yeah.
And that's like it's kind of like falling in love. Like do you love your significant other? Like you can't tell me the number, tell me there's you can't put a number on it. You can't what was the moment? What was the time? When did it happen?
Hmm.
It didn't. It happened over time. It happened over the course of cultivation. It
Yeah.
wasn't the flowers that you got. It wasn't the card you got at Valentine's Day. It was this cultivation over time, and that's what learning an instrument is. And
So it
that's
takes patience.
well, in a sense, certainly takes time. I mean,
It's a
you can be impatient during that time if you want to
yeah,
be, but
yeah.
it's not going to shorten the
But
journey.
the best things are not necessarily the instant things.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, the journey's the journey. Your journey in guitar may have been faster than some other kids because
Not at all.
but maybe it wasn't.
Mine was ridiculously slow.
Yeah,
But that's my journey is not a journey I necessarily would have chosen, but because I had that chapter in my life, that was
yeah,
the thing I had to overcome if I was going to if
yeah.
I was going to do anything.
I mean, Logan learned fast with
Yes.
like he'd go back and like the his ability to learn songs. He learned 4 or 5 songs in a week. Now he wasn't learning like 2112 overture,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he's learning 4 or 5 songs a week. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably not normal. I mean, it wasn't because with my younger son, I had to kind of remember like his journey's sort of normal.
Mhm.
He's not learning thing, he's a sports person, but like he wasn't learning as fast as Logan was at his activity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have to, it's
Yep.
they don't come with
All the
manuals,
time.
Rod.
All
You
the
just
time.
have to kind of figure it out.
So working through these things. This is going to be a semi-regular discussion. We got to come
Yeah, let's do it.
up with other
Yeah.
other talks about like whatever when it comes to music making or whatever. It doesn't have to be about music making, but people skills. Um, the things that I personally, and I know you've gained it, some of it too, because like imagining if I didn't have music, how would I have learned that?
Yeah.
And it's like there's a lot of lessons that came from just the fact that I've taken up music. So that's
Hmm. Yeah.
promoting. I'm promoting music education for everybody, and it's like there's all kinds of things that can be done of it. In the
And
meantime,
without this, we won't have a scene. So
yeah,
if you want to, if we don't want to lose art, we all have to get on board with this
yeah,
somehow and find what you love and
support each other.
talk
Do not
and
talk.
talk about it.
Yeah, in other words, it's like, is it really? That's another discussion.
Yeah,
Maybe the next discussion is
maybe.
building the scene,
Hmm.
talking about the scene, because what kind of attitudes does it take to build a scene? We don't know.
Right.
We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was great, man. Thanks. I
All
appreciate
right.
you having me. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun. And like to the only thing I'd say is as we wrap this is like, to those of you that are raising these kids that play music, like understand that it's their journey and that you're the producer and the editor and
Hmm.
they're hopefully going to take these life skills with them and the odds they make it in the music business is very slim. And I hope for all of them that they do, because that means that we have a healthy scene.
Yeah.
But statistically speaking, that's probably not true. So they need to take these skills that they're learning in the music scene into the real world.
Those would be the successes.
Yeah.
And
And I
yes.
I
And
always like to say Logan's Village is really strong because of the series of happy accidents that have
and then
created the friendships that we've been able to
yes,
forge.
relationships. It's
Yeah.
about relationships, building
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So, that's the important piece. I mean, the rest of it'll come if it's gonna.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Todd.
Appreciate it, Rod.
Yep. See you later, guys. Next time we'll talk rock band, all kinds of stuff, whatever. See ya.
I'm in.